Hello Internet, and welcome to my live reaction for To Your Eternity, chapter 148.5. When we last left our heroes, Fushi was sort of shocked at Gugu's desire to return to Taknaha. Gugu ended up playing it off as a joke, but there's definitely some truth to that joke. Later on, Fushi went to where Hyro was working at a bakery, I think, to give him some new dentures and kind of check in on the whole, how are you doing in this world, Hyro? And Hyro reveals that Gugu and he have never really fit in at their new school. Gugu in particular, thanks to his, dragon mask, he's kind of pestered by the student body to sort of reveal his face, which he does, and they're largely nonplussed in the end. And yeah, Hyro then reveals to Fushi that he plans to leave anyway in a year because he's an adult and he has to sort of A, live out on his own, and B, just sort of see this new world because it's peaceful and not in a constant state of war anymore. He wants to kind of experience it. And Fushi is not really okay with his friends moving on. Another thing that Fushi kind of needs to grow up and learn, leading more and more into the recurring themes and elements of this arc. Also, sorry if the cicadas are bothering y'all. They are really loud tonight. But anyway, let's dive right on into chapter 148.5. We open with Gugu doing his laundry, just sort of standing over it as the washing machine just kind of turns. And Messar walks in. You're serious about wanting to go back to Taknaha, right? Right, because Messar listened in on Fushi and Gugu's conversation. Messar continues, you think Fushi will send you off with a smile as things stand now? And Gugu responds, I know. I never wanted him to see me all beat up like that. He just showed up out of nowhere. Well, yeah, because he'd kind of been disappeared for a while. I think all of the immortals had sort of figured Fushi just sort of run away. But Messar just kind of tells him, just give up and spill all your worries to him. But Gugu presses, I don't want to be an uncool big brother. Really? I like that way better. Though, I mean, at this point, well, given Fushi's, I was about to comment on, I think Fushi's has a good bit more life experience than Gugu ever did, even if you consider the 80 years, or however long Gugu lived after the Battle of Renril. But we still see that same kind of thing with Fushi and March. But anyway, Messar kind of continues, brother, A big brother's got to know his little brother, too. And then Hyro walks in, asking, Fushi-san isn't back? And Messar just tells him he ain't here. And then Hyro sort of turns to Gugu. After I told him about our fight, he ran off somewhere like he got an idea. I thought he'd gone home to see you, Gugu. But Messar tells him it's just us and the animals here right now. And Gugu thinks, I got a bad feeling about this. And then he turns to the horse, Oniguma and Ligard, and calls them, who can find Fushi for me? And then the horse comes over. I just want to say, though, I had completely forgot that the horse is Pyoran. I was watching the finale of the anime a couple of days ago, and I was like, wait a second, do we ever, because Pyoran has that whole line about, turn me into something that can help Fushi, if you care about him at all. And I was like, wait a second, did that ever come up again? And then I did some wiki diving, and I was like, wait, Pyoran is the fucking horse? And I reread those chapters, and it completely blocked from my mind. I had absolutely no memory of the fact that Pyoran was the horse. Either way, Gugu gets on the horse. All right, we're gonna go find Fushi, guys. Pyoran's horse form, though, never really got a name. He's still just horse. It's why Gugu throws him a U. But Hyro tells him, be careful. And Messar looks over at Ligard and Oniguma. These things understand what we say? But we don't really press on that. I'm sure Pyoran at the very least does. We come to what looks like a market street. And the horse is just sort of sniffing the ground. And there's a whole crowd following Gugu. Gugu is not really noticing. Looks like he took this street. And then we hear the sounds of another fight. Gosh, another fight. It's that boy with the mask again, isn't it? What a troublemaker. So we see, though, that Gugu has sort of gotten a reputation not just among the delinquents of the area, but among, just regular shoppers. But we see that fight. Take this! Hold him down! But we see what is almost certainly Fushi just wearing Gugu's mask, as he sort of seemingly is beating all of these punks, from the looks of things. Oh no, but then Gugu jumps in, tries to pull Fushi off of them. Hey, Fushi, that's you, isn't it? What are you doing? Stop that! And Fushi's shocked. Gugu, what are you doing here? And then I think this is one of the delinquents who yells, huh? Stop your jabbering! And Gugu just yells at him, out of my way! And just like beats into him. The delinquents all kind of flee. Let's get out of here. Follow me. Get back here, punk. And then they all run away, leaving Gugu and Fushi in this field that I don't think it's the same location they were fighting. It looks more like cement over there where they were having the fight, and this feels more like a field. Anyway, Gugu turns to him, what were you thinking wearing my mask like that? And Fushi takes off his mask, and I think, is that, who was, I think that's, I want to say it's Sandal, but Sandal is black and does not have that light skin. But Fushi takes the mask off, yeah, sorry. And then Gugu notes, oh, I know that face. Nant! Oh, was Nant the guy that Fushi fought in the tournament with the brother? Is that Nant? Am I remembering that right? I've never really paid attention to his name before. Let me see if I can find that very fast. I cannot, because of signal issues. I forgot about that. Anyway, I think Nant was the guy from Jananda. Anyway, Fushi tells him, I wanted to know what your life is like. When I was walking through town, those guys picked a fight with me. I hate people that hurt you, so I got angry. Sorry, Gugu, I didn't mean to put you through this. I never noticed. And Gugu sort of sits down and thinks, oh, you were plowing the field for a potato like me. Have some self-worth, Gugu. You're the best. You are the best character in this manga, and you deserve the world. But Fushi looks at him, potato? Don't worry about it. And then Fushi retransforms and back to the boy, and then just says, Taknaha is a better place than this. And which is a kind of a big step for Fushi. Like acknowledging that this is not perfect. I'm not even quite sure but what I'm questioning though is, does Fushi believe that, or is he just saying what Gugu believes? That I'm kind of unclear on. But Gugu agrees. Yeah, the booze man's shop has barely changed since we were there. I thought that was kind of weird. And then a young clerk spoke to me. And we see this young boy walks over to him, kind of almost maybe in a similar role as a young Gugu. Hello. And Gugu notices him. He looked just like my brother. Oh. And I realized my brother protected the place. And I guess Gugu's like distant grandnephew looks at him. That mask. And Gugu kind of points at himself. Oh, this? Weird, isn't it? I just bought it. And the boy tells him, no, it's really great, but I guess it is festival time. Please come in. And Gugu walks into the store, returning to his home for all those years. He kind of touches the counter, which is still basically the same as it was 800 years ago, though it does have a computer on it now. We can kind of see on page 5. And then Gugu looks up at a painting on the wall, and it's of Rean. And the boy tells him, oh, that's Rean Crop. She's the lady who used to run this place. She never married. She just kept waiting for her boyfriend to come back. Okay, 2 things. A, incredibly sweet. Gugu and Rean is just the best pairing in this show. It's a shame that Rean is dead. But 2, there's something about the boy's line there. She's the lady who used to run this place. That's what you might say about a manager from like 20 years ago. Not someone from 800 years ago. Like having your founder on the wall is one thing, but she used to run this place. I mean, I guess that's technically true, but it's been several centuries. But anyway, she never married. She just kept waiting for her boyfriend to come back. And Gugu sort of takes that in. The idea that Rean waited for him for the rest of her life. And she just kind of sits there staring at it for a sec. And the boy tells him, my ancestor had it painted many, many years ago. So there, again, the used to run this place, and then saying that it's your ancestor instead of like a more direct term of relation. Those are 2 turns of phrase that don't quite mesh in the way I think the series wants them to mesh. Gugu kind of questions, ancestor? Here, this is the shop as it looked then. It hasn't changed much, has it? Take a look, right here. And we see apparently the 3 of them, Shin, Booze Gramps, and Rean, all had a painting at some point. Rean doesn't look much older than she looked like during the Taknaha arc. But maybe, like, she's laughing so much that maybe it was several years after. Either way, Boozman was still alive, and I think he was... When we first find out that Boozman died, definitely, like, post-Jananda. And Rean also, I think, died pretty young, as I recall. Given just, like, the form of Rean that Fushi has. Either way, getting distracted, the boy points at Shin. This person was my ancestor. The man in the center was the first owner of the shop. And this is Rean Krop again. And Gugu sort of looks at it, and then the boy turns the page, and here's you. He knows who he is. Welcome back, Gugu. And we see the whole gang, Gugu and Fushi and Pyo-ran as well. That's the painting that never happened. Because Shin and Gugu, as I recall, never quite reconciled before Gugu died. Like, admittedly, it's a painting, it didn't have to ever actually happen. But still. I also do like the fact that the boy is just aware that this is the real Gugu. From the looks of things. Or not, because the boy looks at Gugu for a second and laughs. I kid. But that mask is well made. That Gugu mask, and your physique too. You look just like him. You'll be a big hit at the festival tomorrow. And Gugu sort of looks at him, not really responding to that. He's constantly mentioning this festival that we don't really have a lot of info on. I'm guessing that, like, I don't know, it's like a Gugu festival. Given like who else would wear a Gugu mask besides a festival for? Because Gugu did save Taknaha, so I could see them like holding a festival in his honor. Anyway, the kid is confused. And then Gugu just sort of plays it all off. Oh yeah, that's right, the festival! I was looking forward to that! Doesn't really get any info there. And the kid tells him, yes, feel free to come back tomorrow. And then an adult, coming in with like a truck, I guess who like, is actually running the place, calls to the boy, hey, you ready to start decorating? Okay. And then we come to the next day, and we see kids in like really makeshift Gugu masks. All celebrating Gugu, which I'm not gonna lie, Gugu so fucking deserves. We should all hold a festival for Gugu. Gugu deserves every single fucking festival in the world. I love this boy so much. And Gugu turns to some like older guys just sitting around a table. Hey, what kind of festival is this again? And one of the guys tells him, you're wearing that outfit and you don't even know? Are you a tourist? And Gugu kind of laughs it off. Yeah, something like that. It's a festival made to honor the monster Gugu, defended the people of this land from evil creatures that once attacked. We reflect on his life like this every year as a legendary land where he was born. Gugu does deserve a festival, all in honor of his life. I do think, though, him still being a monster in the festival is just kind of mean. I do want to talk, though. I've never really talked about one of my biggest issues of the second half of Act 1 that kind of ties into this. Or is as good an opportunity to talk about that as I'll ever get, and I've always wanted to bring this up, is that the spreading of the Guardians Fushi cult never quite felt believable. Like, it's one thing for Hayase to install a Fushi-worshipping cult in Yanome, but, like, Kahak in some scenes goes to kings of foreign powers, and, like, with the threat of the Knockers, a threat that appeared twice to any kind of public, once at Reen's birthday party, and again at Jananda, an army full of prisoners that no king would really listen to. It always felt incredibly unbelievable that the Guardians would actually get permission to have their military force in other kingdoms' countries. And the fact that there is this long-term festival about Gugu versus the Knockers, it doesn't make that good, per se, but it's definitely like a step in the right direction to making that not as unbelievable as it always was. So, points for that, I guess. Anyway, some kids all notice him. It's Gugu! Gugu! And all these kids run over to Gugu just like he deserves. He's just such a good boy, and he deserves this fucking festival so much. And Gugu notes, no one hurt me. They all welcomed me. I knew this was a gift left for me by my brother, Rean and the Booze Man. So now we're back in the present. My memories of Taknaha weren't over. They kept going. My brother, my family, my home, my life too. I could see my future there. But, and Gugu stands up, I don't plan on leaving my little brother behind, or making him sad. We'll see how healthy that is. Because again, I think the big point of the present arc in general is just that Fushi has to accept that bad things will happen to him. That not everything will be sunshine and roses, and the solution to people pass away is not just constantly resurrecting them. The solution to people leave you as people do is not force them to stay, it's to let go. That's sort of feels like what these past few chapters have kind of been building towards, which all goes into the present world arc's larger themes of Fushi has to make hard decisions. At some point in his life, he has to make a difficult decision. But anyway, Gugu goes on, relax. No matter how many assholes there are here, I won't go to Taknaha. And Fushi sort of looks at him in like shock, and then looks away and like kind of starts to tear up. And Gugu sort of slaps him. What's that face supposed to mean? Did I say anything weird? Sorry I'm a weak big brother getting tempted by Taknaha. And then Fushi sort of smiles at him. No, I was just thinking that I've got a lot more work to do. And Gugu, who I should mention, does not know anything about the knockers or any of the things that like has gotten Fushi sort of in his angst for so much of this arc. Just kind of stares at him for a sec. And then we see this almost like coconut-looking critter. And Gugu points it out. Oh, look, Fushi. What a weird dog. And we see this guy walking this, I guess it's like a Pomeranian or something. And the two of them watch the man go by, and Fushi just kind of laughs for a sec, and the two of them finally just break out laughing. Then I'll have to work harder too, Gugu says as the chapter ends. Okay, so Gugu Festival is very good. We need all the Gugu festivals in the world. Every day should be Gugu Festival. Gugu deserves it. That's my main takeaway from this chapter, is Gugu is the best boy. No one in history comes close to the glory, the majesty, the might of Gugu. I love this boy way too much. He's just a king. He is a king among men. Nothing will ever be as good as my boy Gugu. But yeah, there's some more things in this chapter here, sort of reconciling. Fushi and Gugu had a very minor split that Fushi and Gugu had back in 147.5, and I'm not quite sure it's the healthiest reconciliation for them, because it still kind of follows the same problems of Fushi and Gugu. Or Fushi is still just sort of not accepting that things won't always go his way. In the end, Fushi still gets Gugu to stay in Taknaha, or stay in Yanome, not go back to Taknaha. And I think at a certain point he has to learn to let go. I think that's, especially since for the past few chapters, that's kind of been the lesson Fushi has had to learn. And he just kind of didn't learn it here. It's not really a follow-up to last week's, Hyro is like, I'm going to move out someday because that's just how life works. Eventually you have to leave your house, especially like as an adult. And Fushi's response is like, no, that will never happen. I'm not allowing that. And he just kind of runs off. And that's sort of the end of that plot line. Or not really the end of that plot line. That's not really followed up on in this chapter. I don't know. It ties in with its title very well, Where One Belongs. Gugu saying he belongs here with Fushi as Fushi's brother. I hope we get to see more of that going forward as hopefully Fushi sort of allows Gugu to enter into the main plot. Because again, Fushi at a certain point needs to tell the others about the knockers. We haven't really talked about the knockers for a few weeks, but at a certain point that needs to happen. But then yeah, it's just Gugu Festival is good. I'm not sure this reconciliation between them is quite as healthy as it should be. It's a good first step, but again, Fushi needs to accept that people will leave. And maybe, we can pair this with Hyro, who is going to leave. And so you have, Gugu who will stay and Hyro who will leave, and both those responses are kind of valid. And Fushi learns to accept Hyro's departure while also acknowledging Gugu's departure, or Gugu's staying with him, I should say, sorry. But yeah, all in all, it's just a good Gugu chapter. We needed this chapter so bad. The Gugu Festival is perfect. I wish we had like 5 straight chapters just about the Gugu Festival, where everyone stands around in a circle and says how fucking good Gugu is. I love this boy so much. He deserves the world. And yeah, I think I'm going to leave this video off here. Hope you all enjoyed the chapter and the video itself. If you did, feel free to drop me a like or subscribe. You know, do whatever makes you happy, you know? And remember, your life is your own, okay? Bye!